Hello, thank you for tuning into my channel. I'm going to do the first reveal of this volcano quilt today. So if you want to see that process, please stay tuned. So here is my volcano quilt. If you've been following along with my channel, you've seen me make this quilt from the planning of the design all the way through stitching everything together. I have the top half of the quilt here, and then I have the bottom half here in my hand. And today I'm actually going to stitch the top half to the bottom half so I can actually see what the quilt is going to look like all together. I've used the Tumbling blocks pattern, and to get my pieces I use the Missouri Star template. I'll kind of hold it up close so you can see it. This is the 5-inch template, so it's the medium-sized one. I also have the large one and I have the smaller one, but I use the medium-sized one for this design. And so the tumbling blocks, they actually go horizontally, but the design is going to go vertical. Along with stitching this together, I'm also going to show you how I decide how much binding I need, and I'm going to make the binding as well. So my first step before I do anything as far as stitching goes is I'm actually going to go ahead and pin this bottom part up on the design wall so we can get a preview of what that's going to look like. So let me do that, and then I'll come. So before I show you what the quilt top looks like, I want to go back to the inspiration picture here. This is a volcano in Hawaii that I found the photo, and I really was inspired by it, and my son said that he liked it the best too. I like the different values of the blues here and then down here at the bottom, and then the values of as it goes from yellow to medium orange to dark orange on both sides. I really like that. So I created this drawing, and if you've been following my channel, you've already seen both the inspiration photograph and the drawing. And then I originally had placed the smoky kind of area here, but I moved it over to the center of the quilt. And now I'll show you what it looks like in fabric. I am really excited about it. To me, it comes off a lot better on camera than it does in person because I'm right up on it. Hopefully you can see the change in value as it goes from the bottom to the top. This is like the actual lava, and this is supposed to be like the smoke from the lava. The only thing that I did before I stitched, or before I laid out the top, was I kept the bottom here for just a little bit so that I could line up the tumbling blocks here. So these two are going to match up, and then a few on that side are going to match up. But the rest of it I did completely separate from, like I had this folded up. I didn't even look at this as I was preparing this part. So it's really very neat. I like the way that it's come together. And now as I get ready to stitch each section, I want to pin this up so that you can see the seam allowances, and I'll zoom in because this is what I hope is going to make it easier to piece together. So I'm just pinning this up just so you can see the seam allowances, and I'll get closer. One thing about my makeshift design wall is it's probably going to be too big, or I mean the quilt top is probably going to be too heavy. I'm going to try it, but I'm not sure that the design wall is going to hold it. Alright, so let me show you these seam allowances up close. I did these on the top and the bottom of the quilt panel, but hopefully, let me see how close I can get. Okay. Because I wanted the seams to nest. So like if you look on the top row here, the seams all go to the right, and then underneath it to the left and right, left, and so on, all the way down the quilt. I think that as I was piecing it, The odd number seams were the ones that went to the left. The even numbers went to the right, and so it continues even on the bottom. And so I hope that it's going to make it easier to piece. The seam should nest nicely. I'm a little bit concerned about stretching because I feel like the bottom. I feel like the bottom may be a little wider than the top. Not going to really stress too much about that. I think it'll be fine once I start putting everything together. Hopefully there'll be enough bias stretch that I can play with it so that it gives a little bit. So I want to go ahead and put these pieces together, and then I'll put it back on the design wall so you can see it. And then I'll probably measure it from the design wall, and then we can talk about the binding. Here is the quilt. I am so excited about it. I'm trying to move the camera back because I can't zoom out anymore, and I want you to be able to see as much of it as possible. I don't know. It really, really, really has turned out to be good. I don't really know exactly what to say about it. I'm super, super proud of it. I hope that you can see the lava here, and then the smoke here, and the sky, and all that. I feel like it comes together better on camera. Let me know in the comments if you can really see the values. I hope you can see the darker blue here. This blue is a little bit lighter, and then the combinations of the medium blue and the light blue up at the top to make the sky. I don't even know what to say. It's so, to me, it's just a really cool, a cool project. I will say, without actually pointing anything out, that there are some points that don't match, but the process is very forgiving. I also was concerned about putting the two sections together, but they had enough stretch, because some of the way they're cut, they end up on the bias. It had enough stretch that I could easily maneuver the things like I wanted to. The only fabrics that I had issues with that were the batiks, because they just didn't seem to have as much stretch even in the bias. So I would think about that if you want to do something like this. Maybe if you're going to do batiks, do all batiks, or because it was a little bit challenging, but like I said, you can't really tell where the issues were. The pieces went together very nicely. I need to make the binding for this. So what I was going to do is put it on the floor, but now I don't think I want to take it down. I just want to look at it. So I'm just going to measure and then do my best estimate for my binding. So first I'm going to do a measurement across the quilt. Oh, I feel like I need a person, but my people are doing homework or whatever. So I'm just going to pin it here on one side. I don't want to pin through my tape, my measuring tape, but it is what it is. And I'm just going to do as flat as I can get it. Oh, it's coming in on that side, but no matter. All right, so I have about 87 horizontal, and then the height of it, it's taller than me, and I'm 5'4". So let's see. I don't know. I'll just say 100. But I will get an official measurement. So it's either like actually this is bigger than a twin. It might be like a full, it might be a queen, because it's 80 this way. Since it's taller than it is wide, it could be a queen. For my purposes, my people at my house are all taller than me. So this is the perfect size. You can see I'm standing here, it's all the way up there. So it'll be perfect cuddle size for my my Carter. I will get a definite measurement, but let me show you first what I'm going to use for my bind. What I've decided to do for my binding is I want to make it dark blue all the way around. I think it's going to give it a nice frame as you look at the quilt. So what I'm going to do now is start pulling my fabrics for that. These are the fabrics that I used in the quilt itself, and I just want to pull out the blues. I prefer the darkest blues, but since I'm not sure how much I have, I'm just going to pull out all the blues and then pull from the darkest first until I get the size of binding that I need. So I ended up measuring as best I could without putting the quilt on the floor, and it seems like, according to my measurements, it seemed like the quilt is almost square, like 87 by 86 or something like that. But I'm going to pull it on the floor just to make sure. The estimate of the amount of batting that I need is 356 inches. That's with the extra, using the measurements that I had. Again, I'm not sure if those are going to work, but I'm going to start there, and then but I probably will need to put the quilt on the floor just to make sure. So I'm pulling just these darkest blues first, and what I'm going to do with them is give them a good press, and then I'm going to cut them down to 2.5 inches. So I'll pull I think I'll put them in a stack by color, because I really want to have the darkest first. But again, it's probably not going to matter. As long as I get enough of a dark blue, I think it'll be fine. So I'm just kind of pulling. This was one of the darkest. And I really like that I'm going to have a pretty good variety of fabrics. This right here, this star, it's actually pretty long because it was left over from backing. So it's pretty long, and you know, I don't know. I'll just see how much of it I can get. All right, so I have just put them in some stacks here. And then this is my lightest blue. I did a lot of that in the sky. And then these are some of the medium blues. I ended up not cutting them into big strips, so I know I have a good bit of that, and I think I can get a lot of 2.5 inch strips out of that, which will be perfect. This one, I have a lot of it, but I'm not sure that I'm going to use it because I don't think it's 100% cotton, and when I was stitching it in the quilt, it was very thin. Let me see if I hold it up. You can see through it. I don't know if you can see me through it, but I would rather not use it. I'm concerned that it might not be strong enough for a binding. What else? These are just a few more, and I do have a good bit of strips. So I'll try for these pieces first, my bigger strips, before I cut these, and then if I don't have enough, then I'll start cutting these up. So these will kind of go to the side. And these, if you were following, these are 3 5/8 inches, but I have to cut them down, and I'll put the extra in my string pile. So let's see. So but I think that I will have to use some of my larger pieces, but I will get my other ones prepared first. So that's all I have in here that I can use. I may need to check my other boxes, but I'm going to press these and then get them cut down to 2.5, and then I'll make my binding. I may go ahead and put this on the floor just so you can see what that looks like when I'm going, how much binding do I need, because I'm not actually going to measure it out. I'm going to hold it up next to the quilt to see what works. I put the quilt on the floor so that I could spread out my binding fabric around it. And it turns out, hopefully you can see it, it is almost a square. It's actually longer horizontally than it is vertically by like a couple inches. If I was super duper concerned, I could add another row at the top and another row at the bottom, but obviously I'm not super concerned. I have gone ahead and I've cut my binding fabric into 2.5 inch strips and just kind of laid it all around. I try to overlap it to mimic what it'll be like with the once I do the 45 degree stitch line on each of the pieces. So this should be enough. I have enough. I have about 20 inches. Uh-oh. Let me see if I can move it down. You can see this little fabric here. That's kind of my overhang right now. I'm going to go ahead and stitch these together, and I will probably lay it back out again before I press everything, but it's really, it looks pretty good so far. So I'm going to go stitch these, and then I will show you the binding after it's all done. So here is the quilt. I have the binding all around it, and I only use the dark and medium blues, but I've decided to try to put the medium blues up at the top. So we have, I have my overlap right here. It looks like about 12 inches. I don't know how much it is. It may be a little bit more than that. But I put the medium fabrics at the beginning and the end of my binding so that I can start and end the quilt up at the top. So it's really cool. I'm going to, I think before I close, I'm going to put this back on the wall because I'm pretty proud of it. So let me do that, and then we'll end up the video. I'm really proud of this project, even though it's only about halfway done. I have my binding here. I think I'm gonna try to leave this up. Hopefully it won't fall. It's kind of heavy on that tablecloth design wall, but I think it'll be okay. I want to later today, I'll be ordering my batting and backing online, and then I need to think about the thread that I'm going to use to quilt it. I think I have some ideas about it because I don't want to have to buy any thread, and I think I can quilt it without buying thread unless I have to get it to match the whatever backing fabric I choose. So I'll be looking into that. Thank you everybody who has joined me on this journey. It's been really cool. If you have any ideas about quilting this thing, please leave them in the comments. I don't know yet. I think I'll have some ideas in a little while, but as of right now, I'm still kind of ecstatic over just finishing the top. If you have any questions about what you've seen, also leave those in the comments. Please thumbs up this video, share it with your friends, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. Thanks again for watching. Bye!